Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Purposeful Conversations with me, Emee, here in the PAMI Code Facebook group. And today, we're going to talk about how to transform chaos into clarity. I know that for some of you, now that we are opening our economies again after lockdown, there's a little bit of chaos out there. People actually a little bit scared about what's next. And during our time in lockdown, we've had a little bit of time to reflect about our lives, reflect about, our purpose and so on. But how do we transform the chaos that we might be experiencing right now into clarity so we'll know exactly what we need to do next? So for today, I invited our very special guest. She's a holistic wellness coach and mentor. And yeah, we'll talk about how you can transform that chaos into clarity. So without further ado, let's all welcome Lisa Gumieniuk. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Emee, and everyone who's watching. Thanks so much for having me. It's really great to be here talking about finding some calm from the chaos that's happening in the world at the moment.
Awesome. Well, I really do appreciate that you've come today and that we'll have this conversation. But before we get into that, Lisa, could you tell us a little bit about yourself first? What you do and how did you get into this area?
Yeah, so chaos to clarity is my area of expertise, and resetting that chaos to find clarity. And so well, where do we start? I do lots and lots of bits and pieces that have brought me to where I am today. And I worked in corporate roles for many, many years. And then 7 years ago, I fell unwell with chronic illness. So I had glandular fever and Lyme disease and shingles and lots of infectious chronic illness. And I went from functioning to pretty much non-functioning. I struggled to read. I lost my memory. My husband at one stage was sitting in front of me and I couldn't even remember his name.
Oh, no.
I had a list of symptoms that was so long. I remember one particular day I had over 40 symptoms because I sort of started jotting them down. I'm like, what are all of my symptoms? So I had chronic illness and I was stuck in it for a very long time, and I was trying to work my way out of it. And there was always a lot of chaos in my life, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of overwhelm. And so I went on this journey of it's sort of 7 years now of, reducing the symptoms and finding wellness and finding clarity.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think triggered those symptoms? Because certainly there are a lot of like psychosomatic conditions, and those wherein you're exposed to prolonged stress, your body reacts to it in this way. You get all sorts of physical ailments. And as you've said, did you say you had like 40 different symptoms? Doesn't sound like a pleasant experience. So could you trace where the stress was coming from and why you were so unwell?
Yeah, there's a number of things. So in terms of the body, I used to think that, we're very much a physical body. So it's what are the things that I needed to do physically to help and support my body, from a lifestyle perspective, from a nutritional perspective, and all of those things are fundamentals. And when you ask me in terms of, what were some of the stresses on my body, so I had some physical stresses. I wasn't fueling my body with the correct nutrients. Actually, there wasn't a lot of nutrients there. It was highly carbohydrate loaded, lots of protein bars, and I was also depleting myself because I was doing lots of really, really high intensity exercise. There was a number of things that happened in a year that I felt unwell. I had an allergic reaction to a bee sting. I had a number of vaccinations as I was traveling to Africa for my honeymoon. So my nutrients was I guess, again, being depleted. But then also, stress comes about from our emotions and our mind, and the concept of spirituality as well. So what was happening from a mental perspective is that I was really, really hard on myself. I didn't believe that the things that I was doing, were good enough. And it's interesting because I actually have my story page open on my website just here, and there's a picture of me winning these 2 awards at work. Outstanding achievement and staff member of the year. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on top of the world. But I won these awards out of 1,000 employees. There were 4 personal awards and I won 2 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty amazing. But I still didn't think that I was good enough. And so when you have this mindset that you're not good enough, and there's this constant negative self-talk, then that places stress on the body. And then I had all these emotions that I had been suppressing. So layer upon layer just sort of came into my being, came into my body, and was just pushed more and more and more down till it got to the point that my body was like, hey, can't handle this anymore. The physical stress that you're putting, the emotional stress, the mindset, and the body's like, my immune system was in tatters. So when that happens, that enables the immune system becomes weak. And then when there is a pathogen like glandular fever or Lyme disease or something that then comes into the body, it makes it even more. What was that? Sorry?
Yeah, it couldn't actually fight it. Yeah, it's your immune system is so low that it couldn't really handle that that extra thing that's coming into your body.
Absolutely. So all this other stress, this combination of stress, then impacts my body's ability to heal, to recover, and then eventually I had the belief that I wasn't going to get well, and that I didn't deserve to be well because I had been sick for so long. And so what happens when you're communicating to your body and your cells, you don't deserve to be well, or you don't deserve to have this job, or you don't deserve to have a partner. So when you're communicating these messages, then how is my body going to heal itself?
Yeah. So it's actually one layer after another. Yeah. That's why you're called the holistic wellness coach, because you're actually looking at it from a holistic perspective. And I have to say that, this feeling of not being good enough, even from the outside perspective, it looks like you've achieved phenomenal success. But all these things, all these mindset blocks, all these limiting beliefs are actually impacting on your personal life, on your physical, emotional, psychological well-being. And there are consequences to this. And obviously, what happened to you is you became really unwell. And for many of the people that I've interviewed in this community, they've had this similar pattern where they are usually high achievers. They are quite successful. They sort of forget to look after their body. They forget to look after themselves because they are so driven to be successful. But then again,
Yeah.
because of the mindset thing, it's not good enough. Maybe all these maladaptive perfectionist tendencies, or you're being too hard on yourself, kind of reminds me a little bit of imposter syndrome. It's something that I wrote about, for my second book, Imposter Syndrome Remedy. People have this feeling of incompetence, self-doubt, feeling that you're a fraud, that you don't deserve your success. And as a result, you couldn't really embrace your achievements. You couldn't really embrace your true worth. And you spiral into this self-doubt, you spiral into these feelings of incompetence. And yeah, in your case, it actually did manifest into physiological response. Your immune system actually crashed, and you had this really horrible symptoms. And I wonder, what was the point in your life when you actually told yourself, okay, I think I've had enough of this is not going really well? What made you um think about turning things around?
I think, I am a very, I guess, to some extent, in some ways, strong and determined, being that, that type A personality and quite driven. But I was also weak in other aspects because I didn't have the right mindset. I wasn't able to process my emotions. So I thought, here I am and I'm strong, but I actually wasn't equipped. So what it is that I wasn't equipped before I got sick to actually get sick.
Mm.
And I didn't know how to process being sick. So I did everything that I could in the best way that I knew how, but it wasn't enough. I changed my diet. It wasn't enough. I sought out the best practitioners in the world. I traveled to America. So I was accessing amazing practitioners across the world, looking at international therapies. I've tried so many different therapies, but one of my practitioners said to me once, Lisa, no amount of modern medicine is going to help you. And I thought, what? I
Mm.
need to take supplements because I've got, pathogens and I've got viruses. So they're, nutritionals are going to help, and herbals are going to be helpful and supportive. So it was really interesting that this practitioner was saying no amount of modern medicine is going to help you. And so I had sought all these physical things. What do I need to be doing physically? What practitioners do I need to see? What food, what herbals, do I need to have massages or acupuncture or saunas? But I was missing these really, really key components: the mindset, the emotions, and the spiritual side as well. And for me, it wasn't just one, it's a combination of all of those. I still have an, very, very clean diet. I still take, herbals and other bits and pieces, but really focusing on the emotional, the mindset, and the spiritual side.
Yeah. And it sounds to me, it was quite chaotic during that time. It's like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? So how did you transform that into clarity? Because yeah, if it sounds a little bit messed up from the way you've explained it. So
Yeah,
how did you turn that into clarity?
absolutely. So you talk about chaos, there was so much chaos. There was so much chaos. There was so much desperation. There were so many products that I was taking. The list was massive. I had photos of me with pills and pills and pills. So,
Sorry.
so what?
I'm so sorry. It was just my little kid just yawning. It's 7 in the morning.
Oh,
Apologies for that. Did
oh,
you hear
beautiful.
him?
Well, we talk about what's one way that I have helped to create, the chaos that I've been through to clarity, is to connect with nature.
Right.
Like animals, spending time out in nature as opposed to spending time, on the computer or scrolling. So really changing the focus and really slowing down and stepping back from things. Whilst I wasn't able to do things, I was still in this really tight energy of how do I control this? How do I take charge of it? What is it that I need to do? As opposed to going, well, actually,
Take
the
a step
body just,
back.
yeah, the body needs to stop and slow down and take. People have been telling me that for years.
Mm. So yeah, it sounds like a very type A kind of person thing to do, like control and structure.
Yeah,
What do I have to do and so
yeah.
on. But how did you change that? Because it's not easy. If you've been in this pattern for so long, if this is the behavioral pattern that you're
Mm.
used to since you were, at from your
Mm-hmm.
from an early age, and from the sounds of it, this type of behavior, the type A behaviors, the one that led you to the success that you've achieved so far, but also at the same time, on the flip side, also the downfall of your body. So how did you shift that if you've been behaving like this for so long?
Yeah, so there's a number of different approaches I've taken, but a lot of it has been looking at the limiting beliefs and the thoughts and changing those. So working with some practitioners with things like NLP, neuro linguistic programming, which changes the neurons and neuroplasticity in the body. It's absolutely incredible how we can change the structure in our body. So doing things like NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, EFT, emotional freedom technique, is absolutely incredible. It's like doing self acupuncture.
Yeah, all this tapping and
Yeah, all these, yeah, absolutely. You've got it. Fantastic. And it's great that you know and you're able to share it with your community, because not a lot of people know about these amazing, tools and techniques that some that you can do on your own. But there's also some amazing practitioners that out there that can help
guided.
guide you, because what it is it's about accessing the subconscious mind, accessing those beliefs, those limiting beliefs. Why did I believe that I couldn't get well? Why did I believe that I didn't deserve to be well? Why was I had all these trapped emotions? So really working on releasing a lot of those trapped emotions. And it's something that I couldn't do on my own. I had tried a lot of things to do on my own. I had a lot of friends, so I was talking to people going through similar things, but that wasn't helping. And what it was actually doing, and what talk therapy can do, is sometimes you feel like there's a little bit of weight lifted off your shoulders. But if your brain and your subconscious is not able to process it, then what happens is those thoughts and that story goes on loop.
Yeah.
So one is it's looping and it's getting stronger and stronger. And two, that neuroplasticity, neurons that fire together, wire together, and that thought process is getting stronger and stronger and
It
stronger
gets
in your body.
reinforced because you keep repeating it, and if you're actually not addressing it, then it just reinforces that belief. And I think you're right. Yeah, having a mentor or a guide to help you through these thoughts. I mean, one of the advice that I provide in my books is that when you have all these inner critic messages, some people try to suppress it, some people try to ignore it. But what I would recommend is to use the TLC technique. It's not necessarily tender loving care. You don't give your inner critic tender loving care, but you actually explore it and you ask three questions. Is it true? Is it logical? Is it constructive? At least that way, you are actually exploring where these beliefs are coming from. You're asking whether there's a basis of, if it exists in the real world, if it's true, if it's logical. And then the third bit is it constructive? Is it helping you or others around you? And if it is not, how can you actually shift it? How can you transform it so it becomes less destructive and more something that, okay, you've had this thought, it's recurring in your mind. How can you shift it and change it into something that will work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I fantastic tools and a great thought process for breaking those thoughts down and really helping to get some clarity and some direction about how you can potentially do things differently.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I think the takeaway message from this conversation is yes, chaos happens and yes, things happen, but there is actually a way to shift chaos and transform it into clarity. And actually having a guide, having a mentor, being able to explore and release these thoughts can be a good way to make things better. And actually yeah, having that conversation with someone who actually can help to transform those thoughts can give you clarity, exploring where it's coming from and then what you can do about it is, yeah, it's a great way to to explore it instead of just suppressing it or ignoring that. Some people might be in denials, like it's gonna be okay, everything's been okay, until your body actually gives up. you
But
know
and it might also be that people think that they can do it on their own. And I thought that for so long. I thought, no, I'm okay. I can do this on my own. I don't need help. I don't need help. And I did need help. But it was also that I think it's also really important to know that there are different tools and techniques and methodology out there. And if you're working with someone and it doesn't feel like it's working, then try someone else or try something else, because there are ways. I used to think that I would be stuck in where I was forever, and it wasn't the case. And I wish that I had known what I know now earlier.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, recognizing when you need help. I think, yeah, again, for a lot of high achievers, it can be quite they could be in a denial when they need help. They've been so self-sufficient, independent, thinking that you can do it on your own until actually you can't. Until your body actually gives up and tells you, yeah, yeah, actually you do need help. And when you make that realization that you need someone to help you, to guide you, then take it. And there's no shame in asking for
Oh,
help when you need it.
no, I was talking to a friend today, and there was a lot of shame around sharing where she was at. And that shame is often internal, and that's that internal judgment, because a lot of people around you are actually not judging you. And, practitioners are, well, good practitioners who will understand you are not judging you.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the relationship actually, to be able to support and show compassion and
Yeah.
in a non-judgmental manner, to help that person in need. So Lisa, if you have any final messages to our viewers today who would like, maybe they're experiencing so much chaos in their lives right now and they want to transform it into more clarity and maybe reorganize and yeah, have a little bit of clarity from the chaos, what do you have to say to them?
It absolutely is possible. So often when you're in a state of chaos, you don't think it's possible. But maybe just ask yourself, maybe your subconscious mind, and say, what if it was possible? Maybe just ask the question, what if it was possible? And what would that possibility look like? Because the body and the brain's really clever. So if you pose a question to it, it'll start to think and say, oh, really? It might actually be possible.
Yeah, so
And that
helping them to reimagine what is possible and things will follow from there.
and it's the start of the journey. It's the beginning step of saying maybe it is possible. And what would that possibility look like?
Yeah, that is actually quite empowering, giving you the opportunity to explore other possibilities, that there's actually a different way to do things, there's a better way to exist. And what does that look like? And when you give yourself permission to dream and to explore what is possible, it actually can be empowering, can get you energized and excited, to see what else you can do with your life. So, Lisa, if people want to connect with you, if they want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Thank you so much. That'd be wonderful. So, my Facebook and Instagram pages, which is Lisa Gumieniuk Coach, that's Gumieniuk. My website, lisagumieniuk.com, and a Facebook group, which is Chaos to Clarity Reset.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you everyone for tuning in. For me, I think my takeaway message for today, and actually I'm guilty of this because I know that, in the past it's probably it's not that I'm too arrogant to ask for help. Maybe I just wasn't aware that I
Mm-hmm.
needed help, that I felt as if I'm self-sufficient, and I didn't even notice that, things, that I needed support in certain aspects of my life. So I think it does need a little bit of take a breather, pause for a little bit. That will give you a sense of clarity into what areas are in your life are working well, and what areas in your life you need help with. And when you recognize that you actually do need help, do reach out for help, because there's no shame in that. If you're telling yourself that people are going to judge me and that people are going to ridicule me because I'm asking for help, ask the question, is it true? Is it logical? Is it constructive? Because it's likely that these thoughts in your head, they aren't true. People aren't going to judge you. And until you actually ask for help, you're not going to get the answer to that question. So yeah. So I hope that you found value from our conversation today. And yeah, if you do need help, feel free to reach out to Lisa or to me if you need mentoring or guidance or support to help you to transform chaos into clarity. And yeah, I hope you found value from the interview today. So thanks again, Lisa. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch up again next time for another purposeful conversations with me, Emmy, here in the PAMI Code Facebook group. Until then, take care and bye for now. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.